What's up guys, Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. We are bringing back one of the most popular series on this channel, the Perfect Workout series, but this time, as you can tell, I'm not in the gym. We're going to do a home version for each, and we're going to kick it off here today covering the chest. Now look, we start all of the Perfect series out by understanding the anatomy of the chest. You can see there's a few different areas that we have to hit. Right off the bat, guys, we are going to have to target at least the upper and the lower chest, meaning the portion up here called the clavicular portion and the sternal portion. Now there's also a third portion that people don't talk about all that much, and it's this one here. It's the abdominal head, the very lower portion. The most significant fact about the three different areas is that the fiber orientation changes depending upon where in the chest it resides. So if we're talking about the middle portion here of the chest, the sternal fibers, they're going to run pretty much straight across from the sternum over to our arm. Whereas when we're talking about the clavicular portion, we have fibers that run like this, off of the clavicle and down. That's going to influence the exercises we select. And then finally, when we talk about that abdominal head, we're talking about fibers that run from the bottom portion up here. So if we're going to follow the fibers like I always tell you to do, we're going to have to move our arms in different orientations in order to get a complete chest workout. But we're going to do it. So with that being said, let's get rid of the equipment. Let's get right here in this small little area of space because you're not going to need a lot to do this. And let's start knocking out here what we say, a perfect workout. All right, so let's kick off our perfect home chest workout here with our first exercise combo. And no, we don't have the option to run to a bench press like we would in a gym, but it doesn't mean that we can't get an effective workout with just our own body in space, especially if we use a couple scientific training principles. The first one is that of a mechanical drop technique combined with overlapping of some strength curves, right? So if we were to look at a traditional bench press, there are two portions of the lift. The bottom portion that we know, and that tends to be the hardest, we want to make sure that we're actually training that zone. I've told you before how the benefit and use of paused reps is going to help us to do that on a traditional bench press. Well, we can overload it without a bar by utilizing our body in space like this. This is an archer push-up. This is loading the chest up in this low position. I have to generate the most amount of force in this bottomed out position, which is pretty difficult. Now look, if you're just a beginner and just starting out, you don't have to do these from your toes like I was doing them. You could do them like this, just from your knees. But when we're done with that, we want to take advantage of the fact that, yes, we're going to go right to failure because these are bodyweight exercises. And I can't prescribe 12 reps for somebody that can do 30. Go to failure and then go right into this next exercise, and that is a crossover with a band. And you can see that I'm just attaching it to anything that's convenient that's going to be sturdily anchored next to me. And I bring my arm across, and the benefit here is I'm getting adduction. I'm getting my arm fully across the chest. That's a component that's actually missing, very, very much so missing from the archer because of how wide our arms are. But if we want to get a complete chest contraction, we need to include it. So now we do 3 sets here. Once again, we take that portion of it to failure. Rest about 60 to 90 seconds, get right back into it for about 3 sets. Now we move on to the next exercise. But what are we doing? There's a purpose here. We're moving on to a secondary range, overloading a different range of the bench press, complementing the strength curves that has some weaknesses. Again, we had an overload in the bottom position in the archer, but we had sort of no real load down here in a traditional version of the next exercise, and that is the banded push-up. But what we do have here is an overload at the end, complementing those weaknesses. You wouldn't want to do this exercise first because you fatigue yourself and then go to the harder range of motion, that bottomed out portion, you're going to have some struggles. So we do this in a particular order for a particular reason. But what we do is we go and wrap a band around our back and we press up. And we try to press up explosively. We try to get through that end range. And now this is something you probably would have done with, let's say, chains if you were doing a traditional bench press to add some extra weight and tension towards the end of the rep. But here we're just trying to actually accelerate through that portion, the hardest part of the lift when the bands are reaching their highest amount of tension. Keep pushing as much as you can until you reach failure. Once again, and what would you do? You keep it going. You have the ability to drop here. But we pick an exercise that complements the exercise we just did. Something with adduction, the same one we just did. So now you're going to pair up one more of these exercises with another crossover 3 times, resting still 60 to 90 seconds between sets. So we move on to the next exercise here in the workout, and this is going to target more of the upper chest. And all we have to do is actually utilize one of these, a wall. And you probably have a few options if you're in your house somewhere. You can put your feet up on something. You don't need a lot of space, just where you can fit 2 feet up on that wall. The idea is to create an angle of your body, right? We don't have access to an incline bench press to do an incline bench press. We need to figure out a way to do it with our own body in space, and this is how to do it. Anchor your feet up high on the wall, and what it does is when you put your hands down on the ground, to start positioning yourself, realize what happens. They're not here. They're going to be relative to your torso at a higher angle. And if you remember what position that is for the arms, you realize that's actually something similar to an incline bench press. We're going from that low to high position. So now with our feet up on the wall, we start doing these wall-supported decline push-ups. The idea being that we're going to target that upper chest in a difficult way, because these are not easy. As a matter of fact, I always say you have two options if these are too difficult for you. You can lower your feet down the wall a little bit, realizing that's going to make it a little bit easier, but it's also going to sacrifice a little bit of the targeting towards the upper chest. Or you can simply just put your knees on a surface that's elevated so you can drop your body down. And the shortening of the body, the taking away some of the distance of the legs is going to make the exercise easier for you. Whatever it is that's helpful for you, that's going to allow you to at least get 6 to 10 reps, that's the version that you should do. As soon as you're done with this, what do you want to do? We want to complement it again with what? An exercise that adds adduction once again, because we're not getting a complete chest contraction if we don't get full adduction of the arm that crosses midline. We could do it with a different setup with the same exercise. It's still the band crossover, but this time we're going from a low position to a high position. You can see every time I bring that band up and across my body, look at the shifting of the focus. Look at the clavicular fibers coming down and out towards that arm. They are taking over and doing most of the work because we've changed the path and the position of the arm. You go through again both parts of this thing to failure, rest 60 to 90 seconds in between, and repeat for 3 or 4 sets. Next, we move on to the lower portion of our chest. And here, guys, we actually have a couple options. Now, I prefer that you use a kitchen countertop. Why? Because you can do a perfect dip in this situation here. Anytime you have that angled kitchen counter, or any counter that's in your house that's angled this way, you can put your body right up in there, put your hands right up on the counter next to it, and you're in a perfect position to do dips. You've cleared enough space for your legs to be able to go up and down. I like the dip as one of the best ways to target the lower chest. Why? Again, it's following the direction we're looking for, in this case now high to low. Well, let's say you don't have access to a kitchen counter that looks like that. You're not out of luck. Instead, what you could do is go utilize the bed or a couch that's in your living room or in your bedroom. All you have to do is position your body now in an incline. In the incline position, when your arms are down, you can see that now they're oriented at an angle lower than horizontal. But this is perfect for recruiting that lower chest. So now, I want to still make these things difficult. I'm not looking to sacrifice the effectiveness of the workout just because we're training at home. So if you want to make this difficult, try to create an opportunity to spend more time in the air. Make sure that you have to get high enough that you can get your arms behind your back and then back down in time to catch the bottom of that push-up. It's a little bit more difficult and it's more challenging, but again, if you can do it, I suggest you try to do this. If you can't, however, you don't have to go behind the back, but you do still have to push with enough force to clear your body from the bed and rep out from there. Remember, all the way till failure, and then one last time, we're going to take that crossover to include adduction, but this time we're taking it from an anchor position high across your body down low. And before we wrap it all up, guys, I always like to sort of make sure with bodyweight workouts that we've actually fired up the chest and made sure that it's given all it's got in that particular workout. We can do that, however, with one final burnout, one single exercise that we're going to do 3 times. And this is the alternating twisting push-up. I go down and I come up. Now, something interesting that's happening here is I'm actually getting that adduction we talk about throughout the entire video. But I'm not having to actually bring my arm across my chest. Instead, through relative motion, another scientific training principle, I'm actually rotating my chest into my arm, creating adduction without having to do any movement of the arm itself. And since our arms are locked into position here on the floor, it's my only option. But you'll find that when you do these alternating reps, left and right, left and right, left and right, in burnout fashion, take it all the way to failure, this is the perfect ending to the perfect workout to get you guys the right chest training when you're limited to nothing but your home and a little bit of equipment. So there you have it, guys. There is the perfect chest workout for home. Now look, running down the list here, you can see what you have on your plate. There's not that much. But what you need to make sure you do is bring the effort. Every time you're going to train in the home environment, I find it to be an easy out, a bit of an excuse where people say, well, I'm training at home. I don't really have an option to really train that hard. That's nonsense, guys. You can train really hard at home, especially if you push yourself and use some principles that are at your disposal that you may not have thought about in the first place. Hopefully now you have, and you can't wait to try this out. If you're looking for our step-by-step programs, they're all available over at ATHLEAN-X.com. As a matter of fact, we have a complete bodyweight training program that requires zero equipment, nothing at all, not a band, not a bar, not a bench, nothing. It's all available over at ATHLEAN-X.com. If you found the video helpful, leave your comments and thumbs up below. If you're glad that the Perfect Workout Series is back and we're going to cover the home variations here, make sure you let me know that too, what you want to see next. And finally, if you haven't already done so, click subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video when we put one out. All right, guys, see you soon.